Ok. Entonces, por eso me quedo o me salgo y me meto ahorita a TikTok. Ya en vivo. Ok. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo están? Un saludo. Aquí Hugo Pérez con ustedes de Fútbol de Corazón. Ya estamos listos para entrar en unos momentos, en unos minutos con Eriq Zavaleta. Les dije que íbamos a tener una entrevista en vivo hoy vía YouTube y aquí en TikTok. Um, Cualquier pregunta que ustedes tengan cuando ya estemos al aire en vivo en YouTube con Eriq, bienvenido sea. Se las enviaremos a él a ver si puede contestarlas. Ojalá que sí, creo que va a estar abierta a él, a cualquiera de los temas. Entonces, quédense con nosotros. Mientras tanto, espero que todos estén bien. Gracias por darnos like. Como les dije, estamos en YouTube, en con la selección del especial Yeah. Okay. 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 We're live now, Eriq. So I want to welcome you, Eriq. I know a lot of people have been waiting for this interview. They want to know what you're doing, but most of it, Eriq, for me, it's important for the young people that are growing up here in America, and maybe the ones that are going to see the program in El Salvador, the kids that want to play pro, kids that want to play one day for the national team. I think you are uh, a key person in this, and I'm going to say why. I think you've been a pro for a lot of years, okay, at the highest level, national team and club, and all. Maybe when we get into the situation about how you became a pro and how was your life growing as a soccer player. Your dad plays soccer. I know him very well. I think it's going to help our kids because I want our kids to have as much as chances to be able to live their dream. You know, you've been able to do that, and I think you can help these people or these kids growing up here. So let me start. Let me ask you, when did you start playing soccer? How did it occur?
I've been playing ever since. See, my son's 2 now, so I was probably about then, maybe 3. I started playing organized soccer. As you said, my dad was a pro, so by the time I was born, he was done playing, but he was playing like adult leagues and stuff. So I would pick up every weekend and go watch him play, and I just grew this love for the game that I grew every day stronger and stronger. And so I think I started playing like really organized soccer at 3 or 4, traveling around the country playing 3v3 tournaments. Like to me, it sounds so normal back then to say, but now I have a 2 year old and I think impossible that this kid's going to play and travel the country in 2 years, you know? And so I've been doing this for as long as I can possibly remember.
Now, your mom is American, yes?
Yeah.
Did she like soccer?
Well, her brother's Greg Vanny, right? So she's been around the game for forever. And then with my dad and stuff, would my mom watch soccer if I wasn't involved in soccer? Probably not. But my mom has grown a love for it, I would say.
Okay. Where did you grow up? What were your first years growing up? Where?
So I was born in Arizona, but I left at 2 years old, and I grew up in Indianapolis. And so all of my early childhood soccer memories are from Indianapolis. So a lot of the kids that I played with when I was 4 years old, when I went to college at Indiana University, were the same kids that I played with when I was in college. So we sort of had a really strong, close knit group of guys who also ended up playing at a high level, which was very uncommon for the state of Indiana.
Yeah, I know. Now, living in Indiana, because I mean, that's a cold place, man, in the winter.
Yeah.
A lot of indoor soccer or what?
So this is actually a really interesting part of my story. So I don't remember the year. I would say I was about 10, 11, 12. My dad opened up an indoor soccer facility called Indiana Soccer Academy.
Okay.
And so I had essentially a home all winter long to go play indoor soccer. So at the beginning, it was very much indoor soccer. We used the walls. And you know my dad well enough to know that that's not the type of soccer he wants. And so he quickly made it become a futsal field, and it became futsal full on all the time. And so, yeah, of course, I live in Los Angeles now where I go outside in December and I can play soccer whenever I want. But it was in Indiana, it was either playing indoor soccer or you weren't playing at all. And so, yeah, indoor was a big part of my youth growing up.
So you didn't, you live in California now. Most of the kids when they start playing, they play AYSO.
Yep.
You didn't go through that.
Yeah, so I played like rec league or something when I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
My parents told me that I would never pass the ball. I would dribble through everybody, and the other parents didn't like it, and so that's why I quickly just went into like a more competitive, starting to club soccer and that for when I was 5 years old because I just did, I didn't have the wherewithal I do now to try to get my teammates involved back then. I just wanted to go and score myself.
So you basically um, at a young age. I mean, I always say this. Look, For me, there's two type of players. The ones that start walking, when they start walking, start kicking the ball. Then your parents watch soccer. You go watch them play soccer. That's what I used to do with my dad when I grew up. Okay, but you're born with that passion, with that talent. Okay, and as you start developing, obviously you start thinking, and you start seeing yourself when you're competing against other kids, if you're how good you are and all that. At what age, in your young age, Eriq, did you start thinking, you know what, I'm good at this?
So I think I had different phases of it. You know, when I was 4 or 5, we won the 3v3 national championship. And I thought to myself, like, this is the whole country. Like, how did we
Yeah,
win? You know, we're just a bunch of kids from Indiana. So I probably had it won at that phase. And then I was pretty successful when I was a youth player. My dad was my coach ever since I was maybe 6 years old. And so I used to always get questions, similar questions I get now. Are you on the team because of X? Are you on the team because of Y? And so I felt like I had a lot to prove. And so I was always the one scoring the goals, trying to help the team win. And I felt like I was better than my peers. And I was also always playing up. I never played my regular age group after I was 4 years old. I always played 1 year up. I think it was something my dad felt was important for me to grow. And so I thought, okay, I'm pretty successful at this. But oftentimes I thought to myself, well, in Indiana, I'm doing well, but Indiana is one state. There's 50 states. There's so many players who are working hard. I used to tell myself that every day, how many players are better than me? And I didn't really know
yeah.
until I turned 13 years old, 14 years old. I got called into the national team for the first time. And I went to a camp and I thought, okay, maybe there's something real here because I'm getting called into a group of 25 players around the whole country. And so there are different phases of it, but I think probably that national team one is the first time that I thought to myself, like, okay, this is real.
Eriq, who when you got called to the national team, I think that's the under 40 because that's the youngest that I don't know.
Yeah, so I began like the 15s and then quickly to residency at the 17s. So the first person who saw me was at an ODP camp. It was Oscar Pareja.
Yeah.
Yes, the coach at Orlando was the coach at Dallas. Shortly after he saw me, Wilmer Cabrera was the head coach of the team, and they saw me at a camp playing striker. And I was scored a bunch of goals, and they wanted to just see what I had, so they called me into a camp, and it sort of started my national team journey.
Okay. So you were with Wilmer. I know Wilmer pretty well.
Yeah.
I know Oscar pretty well before, he became a good coach that he's now in the MLS. Okay, so that's good to know. You being in the national team, who were the guys there? Were any of the guys you remember now that they're playing?
Yeah, so it's funny, man. Like it makes me think I'm really old because a lot of them are done or are retired or whatever. Juan Agudelo was a big player on the team.
Juan Agudelo.
Perry Kitchen, who's now retired.
Yeah.
There, a lot of them are done, surprisingly, and a lot of them who were the best players then weren't quite the best players 5 years later, even. I think, which is an interesting part for kids to understand. I think oftentimes you think the way that you are at 13 is going to be the way you are at 23, or the level that you're at, and you can't exceed some of those players. And in reality, I wasn't a starter for the national team for my whole 2 years. I had to work my way up to it to start in the World Cup. And some of the guys who were the starters forever didn't go pro even 2 years later, right? And so I had so many good players that I got to play with then, but a lot of them, unfortunately, are done.
Now, that period of time, being in the national team with the U.S. at that time, did you think, look, I'm here, I think I can play with these guys? What was your experience? Because, some kids, they come to the national team, as you say, at the young ages, and it doesn't mean that they're going to make it all the way as a pro or anything like that. A lot of things happen, but you being there and living that experience, what did you learn from that?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. I think, believe it or not, I was successful everywhere I went. I was probably the best player on the team for everywhere I went. But for some reason, I always had this doubt in my mind that I belonged.
Okay.
So my dad used to always tell me, I remember I was a freshman in high school. High school is a terrible level, like in reference to college or pro or whatever, right? Like, but I always, even when I was a freshman, I was one of the better players on the team, but I always played timid. And I think that's the same thing I did with the national team. I felt like, do I really belong here? And
Mhm.
so it took me a long time to work my way up in terms of confidence to be able to say, okay, I belong here. I belong in this team, whatever. And so those things took time and I think were an important part of trying to become where I am today. And so, yeah, I think every day was important. But I also, not that everybody knows this, but I was a residency program. So I moved to Florida
I
at
know.
14, 15 years old. I was on my own. We woke up in the morning. We went to the gym at 7 in the morning. We were there for an hour. We went straight to training from 8 o'clock or 8:30 to 11:30, and then I went to school from maybe 12 to 4. School wasn't important; it was always soccer, and so I had
Yeah.
an opportunity every day to play with these players and get better. And so, yeah, I think I learned so much about what it takes to be a pro, what it takes to take care of your body, what it takes to eat the things in the right way. And I learned that I feel like I've been a pro since 14 years old because I've been doing these kinds of things ever since I was a little kid.
No, and I remember because I went to visit, I think it was in 2008, 2009, I went to visit the residency program. I mean, look, it was, for me, it was a great program, but man, you have all these sports there, you have all these things going on there. I don't know how young people at that age, at your age, could live with all these things. You know, you have all those tennis players that were famous, and
Hmm.
it was. I mean, it was a difficult thing, but it was. You know, in a way, it was a good program to have the kids there. Um, and obviously, now being there, you were there for 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Okay. Now, with that experience, when you came out of there, what was the biggest thing you got out of that?
I think it was, I knew from that moment, as soon as I exited that. So the purpose of the process is essentially to get you to the U17 World Cup. And once you
Yeah.
get to the U17 World Cup, can you make the team? If you can make the team, can you play? So my World Cup was interesting because Perry Kitchen was the captain, and he's also from Indianapolis, so someone I had played with my entire life, and he was also in my position as a center back. Wilmer had moved me from striker to center back as soon as he brought me into camp, which is, the future's told itself as probably the,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I didn't start the first game. I had played in and out of starting and whatever, so I didn't start the first game of the World Cup. We played against Spain. Um, and Spain had got a red card at the very first game, first 10 minutes of the game, and I thought, okay, whoa, we have a chance to win this game. And they had Isco, they had Mundain, they had
Yeah.
so many really good players. And at halftime, we're down 1-0, even despite being a man up. And the coach decided to take Perry off the field, who was the captain, and put me onto the field. And I was fortunate enough to play pretty well in that second half, and I played every minute of the rest of the World Cup. So when the World Cup ended, we lost to Italy in the round of 16. I told myself, okay, I've gained so much from this process. I've learned what it takes to be a professional, what it takes to be a top player, and at my level in the country, in the world, whatever it may be, I have to maintain this. And so from then on, it wasn't just some players were drafted straight away. I was not fortunate enough to be one of those players. So I had to take that professional mindset into now high school because I had to go back to finish my high school. So I was in
Correct.
high school, had to go do club, whatever it may be. And so that was a big thing for me to take away a lot of the things and lessons that I learned about being a professional into now an environment that it wasn't just catered for you. You had to go out and seek it yourself.
Man, I tell you what, and this is good for the kids to hear this story. I mean, you were in the World Cup for the U.S., okay, under 17,
Yeah.
which is not, hey, you're talking about 50 states, you're talking about millions of players,
Yeah.
okay? And obviously, talent is part of it, and then being at the right time, playing certain games at the right time so that people can see you, coaches can see you. But man, I think that's great because we know here in the States, and you know this, now that soccer is globalized, you're born here, you can play for the US, you can play for Mexico, you can play for El Salvador, you can play for Guatemala, you can play for almost a lot of countries, okay, that 30 years when I was playing, it wasn't happening. It hadn't happened, okay? And with you, sharing with us that experience, I think is great, okay? Because let me put it this way, Eriq, it gives hope, okay? And this has nothing to do whether you're good for one or not good for the other one. It's always the same. When you play pro, it's always the same. Certain coaches come, they pick certain players. It doesn't matter if you're good or not. And in the national team, it's the same thing. There's national team coaches that play one way, they want certain players. They play another way, they want other players. And I know Wilmer, because I know him pretty well, Colombian guy, he liked to play the type of football that I like. And obviously, according to that, he picked players. But it's good that you share that with us, because that gives hope to a lot of our kids growing up here with the opportunity, at least if they don't make it with the U.S., they can make it with some other country that their parents are from or their grandparents.
Or they could make it later on. I mean, I saw a player get called in from France. He's 29 for the first time.
That's unbelievable.
You never know when your opportunity is going to present itself. I never thought the opportunity would present itself to me. I was the best player on my team. I won all kinds of tournaments. I turned 13, 14. I didn't think I'm going to go to the national team. I thought, oh, they're calling me. They found me. Everybody goes through their same journey in that way. And I think I was fortunate enough to get it pretty early and be advised by a lot of really great people. But every day, the work you put in matters more than thinking that your opportunity should come tomorrow, because nobody's opportunity is promised,
So basically, you had it in your mind. Obviously, you had those experiences. If you have to say to the kids right now, if they have talent, if they're good, but what is the one main thing that you feel as a pro that can excel? Because there's a lot of players that are talented and they never make it. There's a lot of players that are pretty good, but they end up messing up or not getting into it. But for you, and if you have to give counsel to these kids growing up, what is it? Number one thing that, if you have all these things, if you have the talent, what is it that you need to have?
I think you need to believe in yourself more than anybody else. I think you can't be affected by one coach deciding you're not good enough on the day, or one coach deciding you're not good enough on the team, or whatever it may be. I think it's incredibly important to believe in the work that you put in on a daily basis, and believe that you're the one that you deserve every opportunity that you're asking for. And if you can look yourself in the mirror and say you're doing all the work, you're taking care of yourself in the right ways, and you can tell yourself you deserve it. And I think that so many kids want to say they do, but they truly don't do the work that's required, that it takes to be here. I just told you I moved out of my house when I was 14.
All right.
Woke up in the morning, I went to the gym for an hour, and then I trained every day. It didn't happen by accident. I was put into an environment where it was forced upon me. And I think that a lot of kids can learn from the fact that it takes work. There's no substitute for work. The only reason why I'm where I'm at today is because of all the work that I've put in for the last 30 years of my life, right? I'm 33 now. I've been playing since I was 3 years old. It's 30 years of work that I've put in today to be where I am. And I think anybody else would tell you anything else. Of course, there's luck that's involved. There's timing that's involved with all of it. But if you truly love what you do and you put in the work every single day to try to achieve the results, things will come. I can assure you of that.
Great. Now, you get out of the World Cup, you go to college now.
Yeah, so I went to high school. I was fortunate enough that my school did trimesters as opposed to semesters. So Greg Vanny at the time, who was my uncle, had sort of oversaw my entire journey, said to me, there's no way you're going back to high school and just, we need to put you in a correct environment. So I had to go finish my high school degree. I played my high school season, which was one of the worst seasons of my life. The transfer of environment was just so different, of course. So I finished high school in 3 months of my senior year, and I immediately moved to go to Phoenix, Arizona, because Greg had just started Real Salt Lake Academy, but it was basing it out of Arizona. He was the head coach. He oversaw everything. So I immediately was forced again to be put into an environment where we trained every day. It was sort of the beginning of academy, right? So academy first started. I played for the national team. They actually allowed the national team to be a part of the academy league. So that was my first ever experience of what the academy was. So then I went on to go to Salt Lake and trained with these kids every day. And there were a lot of good players. It was a good team. And we played tournaments all the time. And shortly after that, maybe 3 months after that, Robin Fraser was offered the head coaching job of Chivas USA, brought Greg on as the assistant coach, and he immediately brought me and said, "You're going to come train with the professional team." So now I'm going into college. So I'm still really young.
Yeah.
And I'm all of a sudden in a pro locker room training with them every day. And so sometimes I was allowed to play some reserve games and whatever. And so I was just immediately transferred, fortunately, into another professional environment that got me ready. Now, after that, okay, I had committed to go to Indiana University. At the time, it was much more difficult than it is now to go to MLS Next, to just go pro, really.
You're right.
College was common. Every good player, like Darlington Nagbe, who retired today, was a wonderful professional, played college soccer also. He played at Akron, right? Everybody went to college back then. And so I also wanted to go back home. I had been away from my family for so long, since 14. I wanted to go back home, play with some of my friends, and then play at a university that had won a lot of championships and see what I could do. And so I decided to go to college after that and see what that was really all about.
Okay. You were there how many years?
So I went to Indiana for 3 semesters, so a year and a half.
Okay.
In my first year, I'll sort of tell the story as quickly as I can, but I was a center back, right? Playing on the national team. I played in a U17 World Cup as a center back. When I got to college, I told the coach, I'm playing center back. It's just non-negotiable. He said, yeah, no problem. So we did preseason training, whatever. And then we couldn't score. So the first beginning of preseason, he decided, I'm going to put you at striker for a game. Just go have fun. Okay. I scored 3 goals. So he said, okay, you have to play the next game as striker. I scored 2 goals. So I played the entire season as a striker. I scored 10 goals, won Big Ten Freshman of the Year. And then the season ended. And in college, it's just one fall season. And then the spring season, you do trainings and whatever. And you have like a couple games. And I said, look, I'm going to play center back now. That's where my future is. I had Greg and others in my ear saying your future is as a center back. And so I did a bunch of training again. We go to preseason, same thing. You're going to play center back for the first half. We're losing. I go in, I score 3 goals. We win 4-3. So he says, look, I have to play you as a striker. I said, okay, I'm going to use this as my opportunity to try to find my way into the league. And I also want to win. It was important for me to try to, everywhere I want to go, I want to win. And so I played the entire season. I scored 22 goals or something like that.
That's a lot of goals, man.
We won the national championship. And I went, so that the season ended in December, and I went pro in January. 2013 was the year I first went pro. So this is 13th year doing it.
So you went into the draft?
I went into the draft, yeah.
And who got you?
So I was drafted by Seattle, who Ziggy Schmidt was the coach.
Yeah.
Greg knows very well. My dad knows very well. I'm sure you know very well.
Yeah.
They traded up to the 10th pick to pick me. And that was probably the first time in my life that things got tough for me, because the first time I had got to a team and I couldn't find a way to break in. I just wasn't at the level required to be playing on a daily basis. Even on the national team, if I was in and out, I was in and out. This time I played my rookie year, I played 6 games, probably for a total of like 60 minutes. Like I barely played. So it was a challenge for me. I really, that was the first time where I questioned, do I belong here? You know, all these kinds of questions that you ask yourself.
And when does your break come?
So the next year, Ziggy said, look, you need to get games, so we're going to loan you out. What's interesting is he told Indy 11 was coming into the USL for the first time ever. And he said, we want to loan you to be their marquee player, but you're going to go play striker there.
Wow.
And again, this theme continues to come up. I, again, am being advised very strongly, that is not your position. Don't go do it. Obviously, I had played with Obafemi Martins, Clint Dipsey, big players at Seattle. And so I started to understand, like, well, in this league where they spend money is at striker. So if I have any chance, it's not going to be there. But I need to play center back. So my agent sort of marketed me around. Wilmer Cabrera was the head coach at Chivas USA, and he said, I'll take him, and he's going to play center back for me. So I went there. I took a chance.
Yeah.
It happened to be the last year in the history of Chivas USA, 2014. And I played 17 games for Wilmer, started 17 games for Wilmer. And it was really my first chance and opportunity to play in this league and really grow. You need time as a young player to be able to grow and make mistakes. And fortunately, he gave me that opportunity there.
So you played center back the whole season?
Whole season. That was pretty much once that rookie year finished, my forward journey has come to a close, and it's been center back ever since.
And that experience, your first year as a pro in the sense of being a starter.
Yep.
How much you grew? How much did your football grow?
Tons, absolutely tons. I mean, again, I was fortunate. I played next to Carlos Bocanegra.
Yeah.
Played in World Cups for the U.S. There were so many. Nigel Rio Coker was the six in front of me. We had so many established pros who okay, you're a professional as a rookie, but you're just surviving, really. It's like you're thrown into the ocean and you're like swimming. Now you start games, you start to get your head out of the water, and you start to understand, how are they swimming next to me, right? How are they taking care of their body? How are they playing 3 games in a week? You got to play Wednesday, Saturday. And so I learned a lot from watching these guys and playing with these guys. And of course, being on the field playing games, experience is the most important thing you can possibly have. You can watch a million games, you can do a million training sessions. Unless you're playing games, you're really not in the rhythm of the game. And so I learned what it took to keep my body in a way. I only played 17 games of a 34 game schedule, but I learned what it took to try to get my body in a way to be able to play a full-time starter.
And since your previous experience as a number 9, how much did it help you when you became the center back? Because for me, that's the key thing. I mean, you're scoring goals as a 9, okay? Yep. That means they're defending you. Now you have to defend the 9s. I mean, I have to think that it helped you a lot in reading what the 9s, how they played, your new position out as a center back.
Yeah, I was a certain type of 9, more of like a target, hold up, old school type of striker type of 9. And then I played against a lot of different kinds of 9s, right? I played against B. Keane, who would sit behind the back line and show up and connect and be crafty and whatever. So I played against so many different types, but of course it helped me. I think it helped me on both sides. It helped me as a center back, being a former 9. It helped me as a 9 being a center back. You just learn sort of the tricks of the trade of what forwards do. So I knew those already because I had done so many, right? Like, for example, I know that they're hanging out behind me, whereas some people will get caught watching the game.
Yeah.
I'm not so worried about what's behind them. It's a lot of cues that came into place for me that I think a lot of them I couldn't even describe to you because they're so subconscious. They're so second nature to you that
it just comes. Yeah.
Just comes. Yeah. It's mental memory for sure.
And the first year in the league, okay. I'm gonna ask you this question individually. Who was the toughest opponent you played, and who was the toughest player you played against? If you can remember that.
Played with.
Against.
For me, it was Robbie Keane for sure. I mean, his level was. He used to play, so at that team was him, Landon Donovan. The way they worked together, it was ridiculous. A little bit Clint, who was on my team at the time, Clint Dempsey and Obafemi Martins.
Yeah.
Just the way that one would check in, get a dummy, play off, just the way they played off of different strikers. Again, I had played at the national team level in the youth. I had played in college. I had never seen anything like it. And so those players, I mean, there were lots at the time. There's lots over the extents of my career, but I always will remember Robbie Keane for being a player who gave every center back I saw a challenge, and he was not the most athletic. He was not the most technically gifted. He just had enough of everything and was so good up here that it took him to just another level.
Was he dirty with you?
A little bit. I mean, he wanted to win. He was a competitor, you know? So, but what a player.
No, I obviously I saw him before he went to the Galaxy in Europe. He was a great player. Now, from there, where do you go? I know Chivas gets dissolved.
Yeah, so from when they got dissolved, I then get traded to Toronto. Greg is the head coach there at the time. They're a club who's a little bit up and coming. They had really not had much success in the league, and they had now invested in Michael Bradley, Josie Altidore, Sebastian Jovinko, but they couldn't defend very well, and they were looking for an ejection of youth. And Greg had obviously watched my entire career and knew that I could come in and at least compete and be a part of the center back
Sure.
group and see if I could play games. And so I think I went to Toronto at the exact right time in terms of my career and in terms of the club.
And you guys won how many championships there with Greg?
So we went to 3 finals. I only won one. So my first year was there in 2015. I played a little bit. We weren't so good.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 16, we really started to get a lot better. That was the first final I ever went to. I played in that final. It was probably the coldest game I've ever played in history. It was December 10th, 2016 or something like that. So if you're playing in December in Toronto, you probably are going to be freezing
You're right.
and so we played against Seattle. Alex was not on the team yet, but his brother was. And they did not get a shot on goal. We went to penalties. We lost in penalties. So that was a real gut punch for me. I played in the game. I really thought we had a chance. But when you're young like that, and that was my fourth year in the league, I thought, okay, well, I'll be to another final, no problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I know now that it's not that easy. I was on such a good team that we were fortunate enough to then go the next year and win everything, right? That was when we won the treble, the Canadian Cup. We won the Supporter Shield, which is important, I think, and then MLS Cup. And so that was the most games I ever played in my career. I played 31 games. I played almost every minute of every game, and we won everything. And so that was probably the most rewarding year of my career so far, even today.
I mean, I know you talk about Jovinko, and I've seen Jovinko when he was in Europe. Was he really that good when now you training with him, playing with him?
Yeah, for me, he's the best player until Messi came into the league.
Yeah.
He's the best player who ever came into the league. I mean, I
Okay.
think he's an incredible story for young players because he shows you that there's no this Messi too, but Messi for me is like you can't use him as a comparison for you.
Yeah.
He's just
Mhm.
another level. But Seba's 5'4",
I know.
whatever it is. But his competitiveness is bigger than anyone's I've ever seen. I mean, we used to come into games. We used to go to places like Houston or Dallas or whatever, places that are really tough to get a point on the road in MLS. And he would come in after the game screaming at you like, that's not good enough. I really learned what it took to win from that guy. I mean, he was a competitor through and through. His training wasn't always the best. He wasn't always out on the field like a lot of great MLS players.
Yeah.
In
Hmm.
time game, he turned into a different player. And what he could do, we joked that it was like we stepped on the field because he was wearing our uniform. We knew we were going to win. That's how good he was. I mean, he just had everything you possibly need to be successful. He had right foot, left foot. He was shifty. He was smart. He had the right pass. But in reality, he wanted to score goals, and that's who he was. We brought him in as a 10. He was a 9. He was a
Oh,
goal scorer. And so we had to really learn who he was. But once we got him into the position to be successful, he carried us through everything.
now Vanny has been your coach for a lot of years. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been my coach for 10 years or something like that, maybe more.
If I ask you what are some of the things that you really basically know Greg Vanny as far as a coach, what is your thought about that? I mean, obviously you've been with him for a lot of years and you won championships with him. Wherever he's gone, he's won championships basically.
Yep.
Uh,
He's a winner. He never won one as a player, which is insane. He went to 4 finals, was never able to win one. But no, I think tactically he's just so much more advanced than the rest of the league. I think now you see guys like Wilfred Nancy
yeah.
and others who also tactically are just wonderful coaches.
Mhm.
But for me, I've had other coaches in the middle of having him. I've had other coaches before, and the way he has you prepared tactically to win a game, the way he can scout another opponent and find weaknesses, the way he can set you and your team up to be successful, the way he can put you in the right position to be successful. For me, that's the advantage he has for a lot of coaches, and I think is a big reason for the success that he's had for sure.
Oh wow. Okay, good. Now, moving forward, Eriq, let's talk a little bit about, obviously you're in Galaxy now, okay? Last year was a great year. This year has been a lot of issues with the injuries. But overall, especially in your career now, you're 33 years old. What is your goal right now, as far as not only being with the Galaxy, but going forward? Do you plan to play a couple more years? Do you want to become a coach? I mean, what is your idea?
Yeah, so I've obviously like there's no secret. I've transitioned to a different role in my career, right? I'm no longer playing 34 games in a season. I'm really here to be an example of professionalism, to be a leader, to be a galvanizer of a group, like so many things, to teach guys all the lessons that I've just talked about for the last 20 minutes about that I've learned from great players. I want to transfer these lessons on to younger players, to older players who haven't been around players like that, wherever it may be. I want to help our team be successful, to be able to use my brain and what I see on a daily basis to help during a game and training, whatever it is. And so I'm going to do that for as long as I think I'm useful to the team. I still think I have an ability to play, but if I don't, it's not something where I'm going to be knocking the coaches door down as much as it maybe when I was 24, 25 years old. And then I want to use all that experience to potentially coach one day. I've gotten my B license with the U.S. Soccer. I really think it's something that is natural to me. My dad was a coach. Obviously, Greg was a coach. You know it. When we work together, I feel very close to the coaching staff and being able to work alongside a coaching staff. I think it's something that comes very naturally to me as a leader, as someone who can see the game and try to put other players and people and clubs into success. And so soccer, but sport is so important to me, and it's really just like it's what I want to do on a daily basis. I know I can't just sit here in front of a computer for the rest of my life, and so I'd like to be out on the field. Been fortunate enough to do it for 30 years, and I think I can be successful and I can be helpful to a club in different roles. So
you probably start coaching with your kid, my friend.
Yeah, I'm gonna try not to be my son's coach.
Hey, you're gonna try, but believe me, I don't know if you're gonna be able to deprive yourself of that.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard. Was your dad your coach?
Yeah, but not a lot. But my dad was the coach that would say to me, "Look, after a game, he would come to me. He would never tell me I play great. He would always tell me, look, you need to do this. You need to dribble more. You need to take a better shot. Okay, don't be afraid of this guy." That was his coaching. Yeah. He never coached me as a coach of a team.
Okay.
But every time he saw me, that was it. And I remember when I was young, he used to take me to the park, and I would see him play or train. Okay, and he would see me, as I was growing up. I think I have to say he found out that I was gonna maybe become somebody as a player at a higher level when I was about 11 years old. Okay, but he was always, don't think you're better than somebody else. Okay, if you want to get better, you got to go practice. You need to perfect this. It was never, son, I'm glad you did well, you lost. That didn't exist with him. And then when I became a parent, I took my kids to play soccer and everything, I copied a little bit of that, but I also, you learn to have a balance now, okay? Because kids growing up 30 years ago, 40 years ago, is different than kids now growing up, okay? But I'll tell you something. I mean, I have my grandson who's 11. I train him sometimes with the academy we have. I don't coach him, okay? I'm not too hard on him, to be honest with you. I just tell him certain things. But believe me, you having your first kid, and now he told me he's playing a little bit of soccer, touching the ball. You'll see when he turns 4 or 5, when he starts getting serious. You can't avoid it, but it's great. I'll tell you the truth, Eriq. It's a great experience.
I'll tell you this. again, I'm towards the end of my career. I've thought about being done after this year. I've thought about playing one more year. I've thought about playing two more. I think a lot of this is down to my body, but a lot of it is also my desire to continue to do what I have to do on a daily basis to be doing what I do. My son is the biggest Galaxy fan in the world. I'm telling you, within his first few words, it was Galaxy. Every day I pick him up from daycare. He comes home. He searches for a Galaxy jersey.
It's unbelievable.
For the Galaxy on a Saturday is bigger than mine. It's incredible, and so those things have certainly like continued to fuel my fire to keep doing what I do and reminding myself to how much of an impact that I have on the kids. I have on people that come and show up to the stadium and live for this thing on a daily basis. And I think he's really changed my perspective on that because he's a 2-year-old kid. And can you
No,
imagine
no, no.
how much
And
impact it has on?
it's DNA. You have it. Your dad. I mean, your uncle. I mean, it's there. Sometimes it takes another generation, but sometimes it comes right away. And I think you have that, and that's great. Um, you competed internationally with your club. I'm going to ask you first with your club, Eriq. What's the difference between the MLS, MX, and the rest of Central America for you?
Uh, well, I think first of all, money, right? So to be able to buy the players and the talent and have the facilities and have the correct travel, all these kinds of things. I think those things separate those two countries from the rest of Central America.
Okay.
At the end of the day, being able to buy the best players, you have an opportunity to be more successful than not. But I think it's more important and I think probably more interesting where you look at probably Mexico and the rest of Central America versus the United States, and that's like this innate understanding of trying to win a game. I think we played Campeones Cup
Mhm.
a couple weeks ago. We lost in the 90th minute or whatever. We were up 1-0, and Maya Yoshida, who's our captain, who was the captain of Japan for the longest time, he said after the game, "We wanted to play a beautiful game. They wanted to win." And I think it's such an important thing because, and I learned this in the national team playing alongside a lot of players, Salvadorians, playing against a lot of Central Americans. They find every trick in the book to try to make sure that they win the game.
Right.
America, we don't do that quite in the same way. They have that advantage over us. Now, we have obviously technology and training and some of the things that you can't teach down there, and maybe probably access to better diet, all kinds of things. But that key like nastiness of like I'm gonna
Yeah.
win the game is just different over there than it is in the United States.
Okay. Okay. Now, let's go now, if it's okay with you. And I want to say this, and you need to, you're free. You're free to say yes or no. And I understand that. But first of all, I want to say something because I had Alex also some weeks ago. All right. And the same thing I told Alex, I'm going to say it to you because for me, it's important. I am, as the coach and the staff we had, we're always going to be grateful for what you did for our national team, for the time you were with us, the time you played with us, the time you competed with us. We're grateful to have you. I picked you, Eriq, and I'm going to tell you why I picked you. One, because you had obviously a lot of years playing as a pro. Okay. Second, I was looking for a center back. And now it makes sense what you're telling me your story, honestly. A guy that can play with the ball. For me, that was important. It wasn't too much of a speed thing, okay? A guy who can play with the ball, a guy who could read the game, and you're telling your story of how you did your first year as a center forward. A guy who had confidence, a guy who'd been competing at a higher level, a guy with attitude, character, and also the reading of the game. Okay. That's why I brought you. At the time I brought you when we took the national team, we had center forwards, we looked, we scouted. But when we made the decision to bring you, those were a lot of the things that we looked at you that you could help us. And I have to say, you did. Okay. You did. I always, although I feel, we could have gone further on what we accomplished. Uh, but you guys came in a tough situation where changes were made, where there was a lot of disorganization. We as a staff try to give everybody the most we could, so you guys could feel being professional when we competed. I think we did certain things. We couldn't accomplish other things. But I'm grateful, man. I'll be honest. I'll be grateful for the rest of my life for what you guys did for us, and just saying yes in the circumstances that at that time were happening when we present you, the project of being with us with the national team. But also, people want to know. All right, I know. I saw. I think you did an interview some weeks ago or a couple months ago, and they asked you about coming back to the national team. Okay, and I want to say this without putting any pressure on you, as a fan, not as an ex-coach from you. I still felt that you had a lot to give to El Salvador as a fan. Okay, and I told Alex the same thing. I respect your decisions because I don't think there's being truthful and being respectful for everyone. You still had a lot to give to this group. Okay, and I remember. I don't know if you remember when I left. Before the last press conference, I think I mentioned, the national team is from El Salvador. It's not my national team, and the players who are here, you guys should continue. If they call you, whoever, continue to be in the national and present the national. Because some people told me, no, those guys are not coming because you told them not to come. Okay, and I would never do that. Okay, because you guys are players. It's your career, and it doesn't matter if I'm the coach or somebody else. But I want you to share with us, if it's okay with you, okay, the good experiences that you had representing this country. Look, Eriq, we're nothing, okay? I mean, I don't know if you remember when we played the U.S., okay, 4 times, okay? I was thinking, and we got an information from a guy from the press, and we asked him to give us what was the value of the national team of the U.S., okay, when we played him the 4 times. The guy told us it was the value of all the players, and most of them were playing in Europe, and most of them. It was more than $250 million. And then we came back to our value of players, okay? You and Alex were the only ones at that time, and I think Brian Hill playing in Colombia, playing at the first division. The rest was USL, or guys from the our league. But thinking into that, okay, and people asked me, one guy just asked me here in TikTok, I said, what were the games that you really thought that you guys did well, okay? And in general, I think we had a good idea how to play, but when we competed against the U.S. 4 times, then we went to the last trip you guys and I had in Asia when we played Japan, and obviously then we tied Korea, okay, and then Mexico in the first Gold Cup, okay. I thought for me those were great games for this reason, Eriq, and then I'm going to let you talk about it a little bit. I think we always said to you guys and everybody, we want to play football, okay. We want to play with the ball. We want to have the ball. And when we don't have it, we want to go get it. Okay, I never, and look, and you know my history. I played for the U.S. a lot of years, and I went through difficult times with the U.S. from the 80s to the 90s. After we qualified to Italy, things started to change. So I knew something about it, and I lived it. But what we wanted to do with you guys was give some kind of personality of the way we wanted to play, okay? Not to be scared of anybody, all right? Because we felt that we had the players that would be exactly to what that style of play was. And he was starting from the back, okay? And you remember, and you can tell these people, we train with the ball a lot to be able to play with the ball, to be able to have the opportunity to attack a lot. I don't know if I ever, maybe I did say to you guys, look, we're scared of this national team. Let's back it up. Let's just kick the ball. Never. I don't remember. But, you know, that's the thing that I would always remember in this time with you guys. And people here in the States recognize that. They always tell us, you guys played this type of football. You had us like very happy the way you played, the way, you play against Mexico, the US, and certain national teams that they used not to play a lot before. But I want you, with this last minutes, to tell the people how you felt, okay? Because I'll be honest with you also. When I left, I went against a lot of the press for criticizing you guys, okay? For not coming to play for the national team anymore, right? And I feel, Eriq, that whether you're born in El Salvador or you're born here, it is the same, okay? Any coach who's going to bring players, they're going to bring them if they're good, if they can help the program. It doesn't matter if they were born there or they were born here. And you guys, with the rest of the guys that were here, we were able to have a good group with the rest of the guys there. And I know for a fact that you guys not only helped us on the field, but also you helped us to be able to make sure that our players who were playing in El Salvador, at least they were respectful for them for what they were doing. And I know you helped a lot in that sense. People don't know that, but I can say it freely. But share a couple of things, because I think it's important for people to know. And I know that you were not born in Salvador, but when you put that shirt on, you wanted to win, you wanted to compete, and you wanted to be the best.
I have so much to say. Let me start with this. My first decision to play for the national team. So obviously the national team was courting me ever since. I think the first contact I made with them was when I was playing for Chivas. So in 2015, right? I had played for the U.S. national team for my whole youth. I felt like I owed it to them, and I think that they owed it to me to give me an opportunity. I turned 25, 26, that opportunity didn't came. I started to understand, okay, maybe I'm not going to be a part of this picture. I really thought after the 2017 season, I would get called in at least into a January camp. I thought I deserved it after the season I had. I thought I was one of the better young center backs in the country. So at the time I'm playing for Toronto, Josie Altidore had played many, many games against El Salvador. He was one of my best friends on the team at the time, and he used to tell me every day, Eriq, you need to play for El Salvador. Eriq, I promise you, every day he said, they're going to love you, you're going to learn so much, and you're going to get to play some games that are incredible. So obviously my family really wanted me to do it, and I really wanted to represent the country. I wanted to try to help advance the country forward if I could, and then help them be successful in whatever form or fashion that looked like. I didn't really have expectations. So that's one thing first. Second, when you called me to come, it was an incredibly important part of my career and something that I didn't realize at the time, but with hindsight now I understand. I was falling out of favor with Toronto for some reason that was fair and some reasons that, in my opinion, were incredibly wrong. And so I went from playing 30 games to say 17 games in a season, which for me I felt was wrong. I felt like I deserved more. And so I felt like I had this opportunity to now come in and prove some of those things wrong with the national team and be able to play games and understand that if given the opportunity from the coach, I can now be successful and help turn sort of a country around. I had no idea what it would then become, right? Like the first game we played, I got like the layup warm up of all warm ups. We played against Virgin Islands. I think we won 7. Yeah. But I remember walking out of that game, we're up 4-0 or whatever it is, and you and I both looking at each other completely unsatisfied with the way we played and thinking, I know. And thinking, okay, we have an opportunity here to be successful, because for me, the way that I felt like you wanted to make sure things were done the right way and not just results oriented is sort of the way that I've always been my entire career. And I think a reason why you and I had such a good relationship as we went about. In terms of memories that were the most important, games that were the most I'm the most proud of, I would say the first one that comes to me is the U.S. game at home, the start of the qualifiers.
Yeah.
I thought we had a chance to win the game. Um, that was my dad's first time coming back to the country in 45 years.
Wow.
I'll always remember that national anthem as probably the best memory in terms of the fans and just understanding how much support they were really giving us. I mean, they were so incredibly loud in that moment that I got tears just being on the field. I think maybe that was the first moment I understood, like, wow, what we're doing, what I'm doing here is really powerful. That game is was one of, at the time, most important games to me because I felt like I was playing for a team who wanted me and appreciated me, and playing against a team who didn't care about what I did for them growing up and felt like they had given up on me, right?
Correct.
Wanted to win the game so badly. And I felt like, okay, we'll take a draw at the end of it. But in general, we wanted to win the game. And I think we always wanted to do it, as you said, the same way, which was not just kicking the ball and defending and playing for a result, but trying to play. And if we lose the game trying to play, then we lose the game trying to play. That game, I think the Korea game for sure. I mean, we had traveled so long.
Yeah.
We had just gotten our butt kicked by Japan. It took so much character to go into that game, to try to have the confidence in a difficult environment against a good team, to be able to try to play and to play through a lot of the growing pains we had. I think there were some new players that were sort of coming into the team. We were entering another Gold Cup. And so I thought when I left that game, I felt incredibly proud of what we did and the way we did it. Yeah, of course, the Gold Cup game in Mexico, or against Mexico in Texas.
Texas.
What's that stadium called?
Yeah, Cotton Bowl.
Cotton Bowl. Yeah, I'd been there forever. Again, was another moment. There were so many Salvadorians there, and I've played so many games against Mexican teams, and I know that they outsell American fans, no problem. But there were more Salvadorians than there were Mexicans, and for me, that shows so much support. And so those games stick out to me so quickly as games that, like, we wanted to play the right way. You always would come into me at halftime and say, keep playing. Like, don't be afraid to play, because it's easy to then kick the ball and keep playing for a result. And I had to try to galvanize everyone around me to have the confidence. But if I don't have the confidence to do it, then how is anybody else going to have the confidence to do it? And so I took a lot of that from you. And I also felt like it really helped the group play in the way that they want to play. And so I think those were some really big memories for me.
I tell you the truth. You remember the game in Jamaica you scored?
Oh, yeah.
Remember that game?
Yeah.
And Jamaica was good.
Yeah. And nobody was there, which was crazy.
Nobody was there.
Nobody was there.
And they were good. And then, I mean,
that was a good game too.
And then obviously when the rest of the goals that you score, you helped us a lot. And I wanted you to share that because I'll tell you the truth, there's a lot of more people that appreciated what you did in the time you were there. We're not going to get into why you guys didn't want to be more in the program, but I think people wanted to know because I felt when I brought you guys in, you gave the best you could. And I said this very openly. I said, as I remember you guys coming into camp, okay, and you know the things that we live in camp. I mean, we went through things that I think Alex, I don't know if it was Alex who said, there was one time at the concentration where you guys are leaving, going home, and there was no water, and you had to put some water in the bottles for you to shower.
To Canada, yep.
Okay. And I tell you what, Eriq, people don't see that, okay? Right. They don't. And even like that, after you left, there was so much difficult. I called you guys and said, look, we need to continue. We're going to try to fix this. And as a pro, okay, you're coming from an MLS environment where you have everything, okay? And you come to El Salvador where we're trying to build certain things up, and you guys didn't have a lot of the things. And the same way you came, the same way you trained, you took care of yourselves. I told a lot of people, I said, these guys would come down, eat, go up, rest. After the game, the same thing. Go out and rest. Never messed up. Never. They were professionals. I wish a lot of those players growing up or now the ones coming up would behave that way because it would change a lot what El Salvador is. You see what I'm saying?
I am, and I think that goes back to the examples that I was provided. I wouldn't have been that guy had I not been provided an example, and that's something that Alex and I tried to provide an example to, right? Unless you see it happening every day, you see somebody else who's successful doing these certain things, you really don't understand the value of it.
You're
And
right.
so I tried to do that, and um, I think there's so many, I will say this about my decision that I think one thing, again, we talked about the timing of my career and also the way in which you respected me to call me to tell me how valuable you thought it was. You walked me through how you thought I could be a part of the team. When you left, that never happened again. Also, I felt like, in my opinion, this is all my opinion, the timing in which you were let go felt to me like we're done trying to compete for 26. We failed
Mhm.
already. And I had gone there because I really wanted to try to make a World Cup. I went through
Right.
qualifying, and to be able to do it again, I'm 33 and be convinced of an entire new project. I had to know that they understood the value of everything we did to that point to now set ourselves up for 26. And I felt like when they just made that decision, it felt like to me they were done with said project. And was never ever convinced of another project. It felt like they're now, I think, figuring out who the players they want on the field on a daily basis.
All right.
Unfortunate for the coach, he's had a few months or 6 months or whatever to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's not his
It's not his
fault.
fault. Yeah. It's not
Uh,
his fault.
and so I think that's a big reason. I think another reason for me is I want to arrive, like you just said. For me, I care about winning and I care about the national team, and I want to arrive in the best possible physical condition. And I played one game this year.
Mm-hmm.
That does not set myself up for the best success to be the best player I can possibly be on the field for the national team tomorrow or in a week or in 2 weeks. So for me, that also plays a factor into my decision, right? And so it's not just I'm mad at this or I'm mad at that or whatever. It's
Yeah.
care. It's the last thing from that. For me, I care so much that I want to make sure it's correct, And so I'm incredibly proud of the time we had. I'm very thankful for what you did for us. I think the last thing you talked about in terms of trying to change things and how different it was from MLS, I think people should understand. I play for the Galaxy, who's the biggest name in MLS, and I
Yeah.
fight them. I fight them every day on
Mm-hmm.
improving conditions for players today in MLS.
Yeah.
So if you can only imagine how much you fought, and I know I fought for all the other players
Yeah. Yeah.
as well. I thought I feel proud to be a part of that, and I feel proud of how much you cared about that because success on a field comes from so many other things, and I think those things we were trying to change, and I hope will continue to change to allow these players to develop to reach the highest potential they can possibly reach because I believe there's a lot of Salvadoran players who can do it.
And maybe when you get your professional pro license, you might become a Salvadorian national team, my friend.
You never know.
You never know.
You
You're
never
right.
know.
You
Never
never
say
know.
never.
So, Eriq, look, I want to thank you, man. And again, I'm proud and happy what you did for us, the way you helped us. Look, players is what makes teams. Coaches, we're in the second, you know, on the side. We talk to you guys, but you guys are the ones who make everything happen on the field. And what you did for us in those years that you were with us, Alex and all the other guys here from the States, and the way what I most appreciate from you guys off the field was the way you care to change things for the guys over there. And you know how bad things were. You
Mm-hmm.
know how those guys go through every season there. They don't get paid. I mean, they're chasing people. You know how it is. I mean, you went through it.
Yep.
I mean, it's sometimes embarrassed to say it. And I got upset a lot with the press because they don't say those things. Okay, they just want to say the bad things about people not living there or not being born there. But I know how much you guys, when you were at those meetings fighting for better things for the players there. Because I tell the press, you guys were pros here, okay? And when you went over there, you try to fight for things that those guys over there could be taken care of. You didn't have to do that because you were coming back to the club and you're getting your paycheck every month. You had everything. But just fighting with those people over there in the federation to get better things for them, for me, that's a big, big thing. And that's the type of players in the future I hope the national team has, okay? Because it's one thing just to come to play and not care about what other people are doing or they're going through. And one thing is to come and play and care and try to change things the way you guys did. So I will always be thankful. And I want to, by closing, I want to ask you something. What do you think, okay, going forward, Eriq, in the time you experienced with the Zavaleta, what do you think they need to do to really improve their program and be successful in the sense of not waiting 50 years to go to a World Cup, okay? But to try to be consistent in qualifying every 4 years and fighting. What would you tell these people?
I would say there's a lot, but of course it starts from the ground up. So improving conditions for players. I just told you I was in a professional environment at 14 years old with the United States, right? They offered me every opportunity to be the best player I could possibly be. So improving conditions from the lowest club level to the professional environment. I talk to these guys all the time. The fields they play on, the conditions they have, the travel, the food, treating them as professionals.
Right.
Allows them to be as successful as possible. And then now you can develop a real league of competition that teaches you how to win, how to be professional, and how to now win in different areas, you know? And I think the US is not a perfect example. I think the day we talked about where we played in El Salvador against the United States, we wanted to win the game more than they did on a daily basis. But we have everything offered to them. Now, some of these things take money, but some of these things are just care. They don't always just take money. And so, yeah, of course, we want to recruit every player. It doesn't matter where they're from. If you have blood and you care and you want to play for the team, sure, of course, get the best players on the field, but allow them to have the right access to anything that they may need to be successful. And you're going to see a change in this team for me that is going to be completely different. I think the coach walked in on this team now and said there's not enough players who are physically fit and in shape. That should never be a question at the national team.
You're right.
It's not. It's just not possible. You don't make the team if you're not in physical shape. It's not you get to the team and you have to find it. And so ground up, taking care of those things, I think there's a real opportunity because the talent, the knowledge, and the will to win, they're all there.
Okay.
It's just the other little things. I think the little things are so important to make a national team successful, and I lived it on a daily basis.
Excellent. All right, Eriq. Again, thank you for your time. I'll probably be seeing you before you retire.
I would love to. I would love to see you. It's been too long since we've spoken. I'm very thankful for our time, as you know. And I'm really happy you're doing this. I think it's really great for kids to see. I think everybody's journey is different. My journey is different from Alex, which is different than Nathan's, which is different from any other player's journey. And kids should understand that every journey does not look the same. Your own journey is unique.
Right.
But as I said to you before, if you can look yourself in the mirror and say you're doing all the work required, then you're going to find a way. They'll find you. I can promise you they'll find you.
All right. Listen, God bless you. Take care of your family. That's the number one thing. Take care of your kid. Enjoy him. Is the best thing you can have, man. There's no other thing.
Best thing in the world.
Yeah. And I know you guys are not going to go to the playoffs this year, but I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Whether you retire or you continue, and we'll be in touch.
I appreciate it, Hugo.
Thank you, Eriq. Take care. God bless you, man. Okay, Carlos, paramos. Okay.